Welcome to our weekly webinars on the business of farming. We are live on the Agribusiness Media Facebook page and here on Zoom. Today's discussion is on the business of fish production. We have seen a lot of interest in this business, and this we have noticed from the number of calls and requests for information that we have been receiving daily as Agribusiness Media. If done well, fish farming can be very profitable. But since farming is a game of numbers, it is crucial that we understand the economics of production. Allow me to invite Davidzo Chizhengeni, a qualified and experienced animal scientist with CVD Livestock Consulting Services, for a presentation on everything that you and I need to know about the economics of fish production. Over to you, David.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much for that. I'd like to thank everyone who's here for this webinar. My name is a brief background about myself. I did animal science at UZ, graduated 2019, but prior to that, I think I'm one of the few people who did agriculture since Form 1. So the high school where I learned, we started doing agriculture Form 1 up to university. I was doing agriculture. I've been in the game for quite some long. So as I wait for exactly my presentation now is up. So I'm going to be presenting on fish farming and the key areas which we are supposed to look at in terms of fish farming. So the topics we're going to discuss today, we're going to have a brief background about introduction, the capital requirements, the budgets, economic returns, and factors affecting profitability, as well as the market prices. Next slide. So what is fish farming? So fish farming, in essence, is a way of culturing fish either in a small pond or in a big pond, normally for human consumption. So in the slide, it reads, fish farming is farming of fish. It's a form of aquaculture. Aqua means water, culture means way of life. So it's a way of life of you rearing fish in water, either using a small dam, a weir dam, you're using a pond, or using a lake. That's how fish farming goes. So fish farming normally started, fish farming really was started in China. That is the cradle of fish farming. And then it moved to Southern Africa. And you might be interested, the best fish producers in Africa currently is Egypt because of the temperatures. So today we're going to be discussing about the most commonly farmed type of fish, which we call tilapia, or normally we call it Kariba bream. So a fish farm normally is built on a farmland. So in terms of capital requirements, I want to be honest with everyone on this platform. If you are going to start a fish farm, it really needs high intensive and capital requirements. Why? Because it's like, I always give this analogy. It's like starting a broiler house. For you to build a broiler house of about 5,000 beds, you're going to need around 15,000 USD. But if you say those 500 beds, those 5,000 beds, you might break even. Same with fish farming. It's when you're doing livestock farming, it needs capital intense, but also the gains really, just because you've invested in a physical product, they are not that quick as returning as compared to crops or to horticultural crops. Next slide. So in that slide, it's projecting roughly the amount you are going to use if you are going to raise 1,000 fingerlings. So for construction of your 10 by 10 square meters, is 100 square meters. If either way, if you're going to do fix and supply, because there are a number of contractors out there, but also you can do it by yourself. You might just need one person to guide you. Maybe you might reduce that construction price by a little bit. Then the fingerlings, they come from Kariba. When they land in Harare, they cost $45 per thousand. Fish medicine So sometime you might need it because when fish arrive in Harare, they're going to be stressed, and that stress, they may be more prone to diseases than ever. So you might need that fish medicine, $20. The feed, $450, though it's plus or minus 450, depending now, ceteris paribus. Currently, our prices are not really stable. So from the fish farming season of last year, I'm talking about 2021 summer season, I believe we used to buy our feed at 350, but now it's now 450. It can go even up to 550. And then bed net, this one you can do away with it depending on your area. In some areas, they've got fish eagles, they've got makondo who can come and snatch your fish. So you might want to put a bed net. So total, we have got 956 USD as your starting capital balance with no return. Then contingencies are just placed $35. This is in case sometime some fish may die, you might need to buy extra fish, or feed prices may increase, you might need to add $1 or $2 per bag. So you need the contingency. And so it brings it to a total of $1,000 for you just to have 1,000 fish, feed them for 6 months. That's the budget. Next slide. Right. I think this is the most important factor when we are in any business, the economic returns. What are you looking at? If you are going to invest your $1,000, how much are you going to recoup or to return? So if you have 1,000 fish, the target weight which we are looking at is 450 grams. That's the target weight. But for you to achieve this 450 grams, sometimes we can reduce from 400 to 400 grams average of the whole fish which you're going to have in your pond. So per 1,000, we're looking at 450 kgs of fish which you're going to get. This is after 6 months. So if you're going to start your fish farm in September, we're hoping that by April you'd have harvested. So leaving them up to May, June, July does not do any favors to the farmer because winter will be crippling in, and that's hibernation time for the fish. So good prices, the market is not stable. Prices really depend on where you're selling and who's buying. So there's the selling price, like if you just walk, like the retail price of any farm or anyone who's got fish, they will tell you that they're selling their fish at starting at $4, but also you can go up to $4.50. And then we have a selling price of $3. That's for wholesale, if you can get the buyer. But some buyers can really try to cut you out of your profit margin. So they can tell you that we are buying at $3.30 or even $3. So if you're going to do the calculations, so it depends now with the farmer. Do they want to control the value chain, or they just want to end up at production and then they sell to the wholesaler? So if it's $4.50 per kg times 450 kg is going to give you, so if it's $4 times $4.50. It's going to give you $1,800. That is if you're going to do retail. But also retail is its own problems, and I'm not going to discuss about them. But well, you're going to input fuel, you're going to input the time which you're going to spend. So then we have the wholesale. Also is going to give you 1,500. So 1,575 minus minus, so that's now the returns without removing the cost of production. That's the total returns. If you remove cost of production, so your profit margin might be around 400. Yeah, I'd want to put it 400. I don't want to mislead people here. So it's better I use the average or the least profit which you can get. So we're talking about 400. That is in 6 months. If you divide it by 6 months, we're looking at around $80 or $20 per month, the gains in your pond. Next slide. So, so for you really to achieve that $400 or maybe over that, depending who's your market and also depending on the market stability, there are factors which are going to affect the profitability of your venture. Number one, it's stocking disease-free fingerlings. What I mean is that when you stock or when you get your fish seed, I urge people to get them from reputable sellers. So there's Lake Harvest, there's Kariba Brimfish. Those companies, they sell fingerlings. Make sure that they are disease-free, because if you are going to stock fingerlings which have diseases, you're going to suffer losses because they will die. And second point, it has to do with stocking density. This is the most pertinent point, and this is the most in which most farmers cry and say, fish farming, I was duped, because normally we are a farming generation which really looks at the numbers, which is okay. It's not bad that we need to look at the numbers, but it comes with consequences. So there's a regulated number of fish we're supposed to put in a specific area. If you go above that number, the cost really of putting the regulator is actually lower than that. So in a space of 100 square meters, you're supposed to put at least 8 to 10 fish a square meter. So we're saying that in essence, in a 10 by 10 pond, 800 to 1,000, that's the right quantity. If you're going to stock 2,000, 3,000, those fish are not going to grow, because fish, they follow a simple rule of growth, which we call allometric growth. It means that any animal, even human beings, we grow according to the space which we've been accorded. So if you increase the number of fish in the pond, they're just going to grow to a certain age and they start. So we are not going to achieve now that 450 grams per fish. It might be as little as 250 grams because of the numbers. So it's really, really important that you don't look at the numbers, because we sometimes would want to say, I've invested 1,000. Why should I just put 1,000 fish? Let me put 2,000 or 4,000 so that I gain more returns when I have it. But it's inverse. The more fish you put in a small space, the less they grow. Third point, maintain good water quality. So water really quality is a major player in the profitability of your fish. Why? Because this is the environment in which we're going to be raising our animals. It needs to be on point. By on point, I mean there are factors which our water which the water is supposed to submit to. We've got pH. It's supposed to be around 6 to 8 neutral to neutral. And then we have got algae. It's supposed to be light green. We've got temperature. Though temperature is really hard to control. That's why we said if you're going to do fish farming in an open space, just do it in summer so that you don't have any problem with you trying to control temperatures if you're going to do it in the other months. Then feeding correct. So you can have all the feed, but if you're not going to feed correctly, using the right amounts at the right time, this might affect your profitability as well. And the fifth point is always check the behavior of your fish and consult on abnormal behavior. Right. So fish farming is like raising babies. It's like having broilers in the brooder for the next 6 months. So you don't tire looking at the fish. By behavior, I mean, are they coming on the surface? Are they gasping for air? Are they sluggish? You know, that will tell you as a farmer or someone who's going to be keeping fish that there might be a problem. And be always on the lookout to consult before things go very bad, because sometimes we wait and consult now when the fish starts to die, but you'd have had ample chance to be able to check the fish and make necessary arrangements before you start getting lost. And last but not least is to keep accurate records. So records which I'm talking about are, number one, the amount of feed which you feed in each pond, the time which you're going to feed, because when you're feeding fish, you feed at intervals, and the time has to be, they say, if you're going to feed at 9 today, Tuesday, Wednesday, you feed at 9, Thursday, you feed at 9. All the days you feed at 9. And other important accurate record has to do with the mortality. So if you're going to have 1,000 fish in the pond, we are looking at 5% mortality, though when you get the fingerlings, normally they are not 1,000, they are around 1,100. So just to, in case you suffer mortality. So you need to keep the mortality record, because these records are going to help you to do the calculations on feed and the calculation on the medicines. Next slide. Right, so next slide is talking about the market prices. So I think I alluded to that before. So in winter, the price of fish skyrocket to up to $5. Then it can be $4, it can be $3.50, it can be $2.50 also. So $3.50 and $2.50, those are the wholesale prices. Depends on where you are, because sometimes if you are closer to where there is a dam, obviously that market is skewed in terms of fish from the pond, unless you can convince people that I've got pond fish and it's different from dam fish. But I know, for example, in Mutare, fish can get a kg of fish, for example, even at $5 or $6. So those are the market prices, those are the trends, depending on where you are. So it has to do with site proximity to a dam or a lake. Next slide. Oh, so it seems like I'm done. So those are my contact details. If anyone wants to continue with this discussion, those are my contact details. Next slide.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Davidzo, for that great presentation. We really appreciate, and you have covered key issues there on the numbers. Now, on the question and answer session, our farmers, if you have any question or comment, please use the chat function here on Zoom or the comment section if you are watching us live on Facebook. So, Tino here says, thanks very much, Davidzo, for such a great presentation. How can we get in touch with you? Okay, we'll share once more his contacts. I'm sure you can see them now from the screen. Then another question here is from Chamu, who says, any recommendations of where I can get fish farming training in Harare?
All right, so they can contact me, then I can give them fish farming training.
Okay, perfect. So if you need any training or any assistance, Davidzo will be able to help you. Then another question here says, is there a company that sells fish feed? Okay, I will repeat this one, Davidzo. It's saying, is there an organization or is there a company that sells fish feed or feed that is specifically made for fish?
Yes. So if you want to get fish feed, you get it at Profits. I've been using Profits for the past 2 years. I recommend it very well.
Okay, thanks for taking that one. Then we have another one here says, Davidzo, thanks for the presentation. Do you supply fingerlings?
Unfortunately, I don't supply fingerlings. If you want to get fingerlings, you can get them at Lake Harvest or Profits or other suppliers.
Okay, thanks for taking that one, Davidzo. And another one also is asking on the dangers in using broiler feed or homemade feed for fish.
So, animals are different. The constituents which are in those feeds and also animal use of feed is different. So if you're going broiler feed, number one danger is that it's not going to float on the surface. So fish eat floating feed. So if you throw in broiler feed, it's going to sink at the bottom. If it sinks at the bottom, it starts to decompose. Decomposition takes away oxygen, number one. Decomposition produces ammonia. And if all this happens, this is going to lead to mortality of the fish.
Okay, thanks, Davidzo, for answering that one. Then another one here says, what causes mortality? I have a friend who lost about 50 fish recently.
All right, so mortality has got a number of causes. Number one, it might be lack of oxygen. Number two, it might be ammonia. So besides, every animal, even as humans, we need oxygen to survive. So the moment there is no oxygen in the water, the fish will struggle to breathe and they die. I think as a follow-up answer, someone might ask me, how does oxygen enter the pond? So if you've got a fish pond, what is that? We put algae. So algae are small, minute plants which release oxygen in water through photosynthesis. So the amount of algae in the pond versus the stocking density matters. So if you put quite a number of fish in the pond and the algae is less, definitely there's going to be an oxygen deficiency in the pond. So resulting in some of the fish dying because of the competition for oxygen. And we have got ammonia. Ammonia is a gas which is produced by decomposition of matter. For example, the waste of the fish and also the feed, because the feed has got protein. So when protein decomposes, it produces ammonia. Ammonia, it doesn't play games. It can kill all the fish. Then we've got diseases as well. For example, the most notorious one being cotton wool disease caused by bacteria, which is inherent in the water. So you can't really remove cotton wool bacteria in the pond. It's inherent in there, but you just have to control its effects. So that's why you need that fish medicine. So those factors can cause mortality to the fish.
Thanks, Davidzo. Then another one here says, what is the acceptable mortality rate? I think it's related to the one that we just answered.
3%.
Okay, thank you. Then do you offer trainings in Bulawayo?
Well, normally I am mainly in Harare, but traveling to Bulawayo, even offering trainings online is not a problem. So because I've serviced some farmers from Bulawayo, so yes.
Okay, thank you. Then we have another one here saying, I've heard about throwing coarse salt into the pond. Please confirm or dispute with the reason.
All right, so coarse salt really is used as an antidepressant for the fish. So yes, some farmers throw coarse salt just to make sure that the fish do not get stressed or depressed. Because the moment a fish gets depressed or stressed, it's going to lower the immune system. Lowering the immune system, giving the chance for that bacteria which I was talking about, cotton wool, to cause havoc.
Yeah, sure. Another question here says, how regularly should we have an expert check on my fish progress, or do we only call you if we notice a problem?
So sometimes you can just be updating normally on WhatsApp or even on email once every week. But when a problem really is there, and they really have to do it ASAP. So that, but I recommend once in every 2 months, you can have an expert come and look at the feeding regimes, come and look at the water quality, but also you can be able to update them. But the beauty of technology, I can be in 5 places at the same time, but I can get information for 5 places at the same time.
All right, thanks again. Dr. Moyo, you have a question?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, yes. Yes, we can hear you.
Davidzo, how are you? Yes,
How are you,
I really appreciate your presentation. I'm okay, and yourself? I really appreciate your presentation on fish farming, because I'm also looking to be a fish farmer. You talked of the algae being introduced in water to provide oxygen. How do I get the algae?
Oh, so if you are going to introduce algae, we use cow dung or chicken manure. You put it in a sack. So the recommended rates are, if we are going to use chicken manure, is 2 kg per 100 square meter. So you just take chicken manure, 2 kgs, you put it in a plastic bag, you perforate the plastic bag with hose, you tie it to a rope, you place it in clear water, because when you put water in the pond, it will be clear. For 3 days, you'll notice that the water starts to turn greenish. So that's how you place algae in the water. If you've got cow dung, that's 10 kgs in 100 square meters. If you've got pig manure, that's 5 kgs in 100 square meters.
Okay, thanks, Davidzo, for taking that one. And I think we'll take our last question here. It's from Frida. Frida says, recently checked profits prices for feed. It seems that you need so much money for each thousands of fish, for each 1,000 of fish, as compared to other suppliers. Please share more details, and also how much do you need to feed 1,000 fish from day 1 until you harvest when using profits?
So it was in the slide. So yeah, like I said before, fish feed prices really are not that stable, and because of that, sometimes the prices keep on rising. But now the elasticity of the pricing of the product now is not changing. Whether the feed was 300 or 400, the price of the product is not changing, and that's at us as fish farmers. So if you're going to use 1,000, so if you're going to have 1,000 fish, you're going to use $550. Sorry, $450 to feed 1,000 fish for the next 6 months.
All right. Thanks for clarifying on that one, David. So that was our last question. Thank you very much, David, for your great presentations and for joining us today. We really appreciate. So this marks the end of our fish farming business webinar, and we would like to thank you all for joining in. We do hope that you farmers have benefited. We wish you a great day. Moving is Warakanaka, living Ilanga. Thank you.